One thing about me is that I love numbers, 3 and 7 specifically.
Too bad your favorite number is in Se7en.
Se7en.
Yeah.
Yes, this is our second time recording this, in full disclosure, because we fucked up the first one.
And the first time around, I did not get that reference to like.
No, and now you get it, so it's okay.
There we go.
Yes. And then the other thing I had said before was that Bad Baby's boyfriend got shot at a nightclub, which I do want to bring up again because I think it's funny.
It's just really ironic.
Yeah, and I just got the notification.
Even though it happened at like 2:50 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
In downtown.
And then we talked about how it's raining outside.
Which is perfect for today.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
I like the rain. It does make me a little sad, just in general.
Really? I feel like
seasonal depression. I don't know.
Are you sure it just isn't just like yearly, all year long depression?
Well, it is also that. Yeah. But like in addition,
I think
that was
sorry, man. It's okay. We all have it, so don't worry.
I don't know about everybody.
Okay.
You're pretty mentally healthy. We've had this conversation before.
I guess.
I've had this conversation with our friends, and you come up as like the most well-adjusted
You guys just like don't see me screaming in my pillow at home.
I have a hard time believing you do.
That's good because I don't do that. But
okay.
But I like the rain. I think
I like the rain too.
No, I know you're not saying you don't like it, but I think for me it's like, oh my god, it's like raining. This is one of 3 times a year it's gonna rain, so
yeah,
I gotta enjoy it while it lasts.
It is nice. I enjoy a good rainy walk.
Yeah, and then you go home and like you like put a pillow or not a pillow around you, a blanket around you, and you drink something hot, and it's perfect. And you watch
That's
something.
True.
And then like the next day you have cold, but who cares?
I could go for some warm apple cider right now.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah,
some like warm spiced apple cider.
Yes,
Trader Joe's has such good spiced apple cider. I will say.
Did not know this.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should take a rainy day walk over there. To Uncultured Pop Culture. My name is Brandon.
And this is David, the co-host.
We're equal co-hosts on the podcast.
You're the host, I'm the co-host.
That's like a pilot, co-pilot.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
You're the first officer of the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but yeah.
That's the other name for a co-pilot.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I thought that was just like on like a ship. You know,
no, let me look it up now because I swear to God,
this is the first pilot, whatever bullshit.
Well, I looked this up. What have you been watching this week?
I mean, I think we can both we both watch the Oscars. I know that.
First officer, also known as a co-pilot, says Google AI overview. So,
which has sometimes been wrong, but
yeah. Did you see when it told people to kill themselves?
I'm not surprised.
I think that's kind of funny.
Ain't that
I mean, it's not funny, but like, you know.
Ironic that came up right after we talked about depression.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that as well. But yes, we did both watch the Oscars.
Yeah.
And we saw Adrian Brody.
What can I say?
What can I say? I didn't know his face was like that.
Longest Oscar speech in history.
Yep.
Which is
pretty bad too for being
really
the longest
bad
one.
speech.
Yeah, actually not pretty bad. It is very bad.
And it's also his second speech.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude,
stop. He's done this before.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I apologize.
Yeah. Turn off the music.
Jesus Christ. But I still stand by the fact that it wasn't nearly as bad as the best song winners. When they started singing,
the Amelia Perez,
I was like, I want to disappear from here. Like, that was so cringe.
Yeah, it was bad.
And it wasn't just because it was Amelia Perez winning, which is bad enough, especially for those songs, which are terrible. Mm-hmm. No offense to people that like them, but I hate them. But then, like, aside that they won for that, just their fucking singing was...
Yeah, well, that's why they're songwriters and not performers.
Yeah.
Which I can say as a songwriter, although there are many great songwriters that can sing.
But I don't mean like they're singing in terms of like the quality of the singing. Like just like them singing on stage.
Yeah.
The song that they won for, it's just so cringe. It's like they really do think that they're like the best ever, something like that. You know, like...
Do you think that's a consequence of being French?
I think that's part of it.
Okay. I'm just curious.
There you go, all of our French listeners.
Yeah. All 0 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
The songwriters are French too, right?
Yeah, I think it's like everyone is French except for the actors.
Yeah, and the story is not related to France.
Yeah. And then ironically, none of the actors are even Mexican.
Yeah, that's...
Because even like Carla
Sofia Gascon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's Spanish. She's from Spain.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's right. So, yeah. That's pretty fun.
Can I say?
Did they shoot it in Mexico?
I have no idea.
I feel like there's no way they did. Where it's like, let's just make this even worse.
I feel like they just like filmed it all on a soundstage and then like put the yellow filter over it.
Oh,
you know,
my
like
God, the Mexican filter.
Yeah, the Mexican filter.
I was thinking about that in the shower yesterday about like how I would like to go to Mexico and like just to make that joke of like as soon as you cross the border, oh my God, everything's yellow.
You need to like cross and then also bring like sunglasses that are tinted yellow.
Yes.
And then just like put them on.
Yeah. Put them over the camera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put them over like everything.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's what you've been watching the Oscars.
I will say, as a big fan of Conan, he did pretty good.
I think he did a good job too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would say like it isn't his like sphere. Like I think he is best when he's just like out and about interacting with people like in the real world. Like his remotes are amazing. And I think like you know, performing like a monologue on a stage for the Oscars isn't like his thing fully, but I think like considering that, he did a great job.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job too. I've never really formed an opinion on him ever. But yeah,
I can show you some clips, which I think will
help me form an opinion.
Yeah, and I gotta throw this out there. I don't just like him because his assistant is Armenian and he went to Armenia. That's not the only reason.
I did not know that.
Now you do.
Cool.
But that's not the only reason I like him.
Do you like him because he has red hair?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Poofy red hair.
Yes.
A pompadour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you listen to anything?
Yes,
I don't know why I asked it like that because obviously you do every single week.
I've been like reorganizing all of my playlists, so that's mostly what I've been doing because Spotify got rid of genres, which I could do multiple episodes of a podcast about how much that's a terrible thing.
What exactly did they do? I don't know.
They fired everybody who worked on genres.
What the fuck is genres?
Genres are like, so each song artist and stuff are in genres of music.
Yeah.
And they had like an ongoing project to try to like sort the music by genres. And then their algorithm of recommending you music would be based off of that, which is why it's so bad now.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like it's really nice, but now they don't have it.
Yeah. So they fired everybody who did that, which has kind of started the downfall of my own organizing of my music because it's kind of like, what am I supposed to do now?
At this point, I'm like, what hasn't Spotify done? Like, they don't pay people.
Yeah.
They got rid of genres. What are they going to do next? Like,
yeah. I mean, they paid Joe Rogan all that money too, which was not
true.
ideal.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll pay us a ton of money to make a Spotify original. We're right here in LA. We can go to their offices.
I feel like that's only going to happen if we just moved like into right wing or something. For some reason,
let's become right wing grifters.
It feels like. Let's start today.
Let's start right now.
Se7en is about liberal cities.
So the State of the Union. But yeah, I've been listening. I was editing the last week's episode, and I said in it that I was going to listen to Tate McRae's album, and I did. Oh,
that's right. Did you like it?
I did. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
We should add it to the list then.
Yeah, I think we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's really talented.
This wasn't her first album, right?
No, it's both her second and third album, which I don't know how that works because the first album is kind of like a mixtape mini album kind of deal.
Which makes sense, I feel like, for someone's first album.
Yeah, but like, I don't know if it, like, some people call it her first album, some people don't. So I don't really know. Because like her last album was like not necessarily marketed as her debut, but it was kind of like, it was her commercial breakthrough, basically.
Yeah. I can kind of see like how people would think, oh yeah, that is her first album. Yeah. Just because it was like her breakthrough. This
one came less than a year and a half later too, which was surprising. Damn. And it's such like, it's a huge step up from the last album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really impressed.
That's a quick turnaround for music, you would say?
That's and I don't remember how many songs were on it. It's at least 14. It's like
Damn.
it's a not insignificant amount of songs.
Yeah. What would you say is like a typical turnaround? Like 2 years, 3 years, something like that?
Really depends on the artist. And it depends on how much stuff you have like in the chamber, so to speak.
That's true.
Because Banks, her first album was 2014, then 2016 for The Altar, then 2019
For 3, right?
Yeah, for 3.
Yeah.
And then it was 3 years until Serpentina, and then 3 years until Off With Her Head, which I'm going to make this announcement right now. I've not listened to it yet. It just came out this past Friday.
Damn.
So I will be listening to it tonight. And I'll probably have some thoughts.
I want to hear
for
them
the
next week.
episode. Yeah. Well, we might as well just get into it right now.
Yeah, just jump in.
I love this album. And then her follow-up to this one, I never really connected with. I liked
Interesting.
a lot of the stuff she was trying to go for, but it just never really hit like this one, which I have a few theories I will also be sharing this episode.
Was it like, you know, like when an artist like releases an album with an intention of like moving into like a new style? Was it something like that? Or was it like still sticking with her style?
It's still like very much her style. I think it's just different producers and writers she was with.
Oh, I see. Because I remember like you telling me about like when Charlie XCX like released the album that was kind of like more mainstream pop.
Yes. Yeah.
So it wasn't like that.
It wasn't. She's kind of a special case of like not many people would do that.
Yeah.
Once I listen to this new album, I want to go back and re-listen to the 4th album because...
Was it called 4?
No, it's called Serpentina. And I'll get into my... Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to do it right now.
Let's do it.
Why is it called 3? I know why it's called 3. I looked it up and I'll tell you why it's called 3. But it's like, can we not do that? To me, I think the worst, like the biggest sins in naming your album are self-titled and naming it after the number it appears in your like discography. The one exception I will grant is Liam Payne's first and only album, which is called LP1, which is very fun because it's Liam Payne LP.
I don't even know who that is.
Liam Payne from One Direction, he died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I do know who he
Yeah.
is. I just forgot like his name.
I was going to say, I feel like you have to know who One
that came
Direction
from
is.
the last. I definitely do know who One Direction is because Jennifer loves. Well, she's not into him now, but was a big fan of.
Most people went through a One Direction phase.
But she was also a very big fan of Harry Styles.
Yeah,
So
as most
like,
people were.
Yeah, like carried over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like literally when we found out on that day, she got texts from like people from her high school who she hadn't texted with for like years.
That's
and they were like,
crazy.
"Oh my god, did you hear about Liam Payne?" So yeah, that was big news, huh?
Yeah, but that's the only instance of that. Another thing that I will give him for that is when artists are going to release an album, like when it's under wraps, it'll usually be referred to by their initials and then the number as it appears in their discography. So under wraps, this album would have been called LP1, and then when it was released, it's called LP1, which is just kind of fun.
That's pretty cool.
It's like, it works for me. And
It's
then
like a
LP is
play
long
on,
player,
you
which
know.
is an album.
Yeah.
So
Okay, what do you think about like when they don't give the album like a title and then it kind of just like they pick, like, for instance, like the Beatles' White Album, right?
Yeah, I don't know. The only like artist I know that like actively does that is Weezer. And it's kind of fun because it's like you're just going to use the same like picture or style of picture and then just change the color. And it's like, I don't know, it works for me. I like that.
It sounds fun. Yeah.
The White Album also, like, that's a great name for an album, like just like using a color.
Well, also, I wasn't sure if that was something that was like dubbed by fans or by them because I don't think they even released anything. They were just like, this is the new album.
It's self-titled. Yeah, it's called The Beatles, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if that's a fan thing or not.
Yeah.
You are a fan of Led Zeppelin or not? Yeah, they do all the like numbers as well, where it's kind of like,
I'm a fan of them, but I don't really know. I know like a lot of their songs, but I don't know like the name of their albums or like which songs are on which albums.
Most of their albums, I think, are just Led Zeppelin followed by a Roman numeral.
It's kind of like that. Well, aside from like Mothership, I think, or something like that, which is kind of their biggest album. But yeah, I guess a lot of people do just use numbers. Like now that I'm thinking about it.
When you're releasing an album, I want the album to either be related to the songs or to like give me a theme.
Yeah.
Which her explanation for 3 as the album
what is
title.
it?
is that it's broken into 3 parts: the beginning, middle, and end of her life. Which
I can see that.
Yeah, which we'll talk about that because
But
I
I
have
would
some
have
thoughts.
never thought it, like realized it unless I heard it.
And then the other thing that I wanted to point out about this album, I have a very distinct memory because I was a fan of hers during this era.
Yeah.
I have a very distinct memory of the 3 being written with the like line separation marks instead of eyes. So it's the key that's like right under the backspace key.
I'm trying to like find it right now.
Yeah, you have to like hold shift and then you get that backslash that turns into like that line separation thing. I don't know what it's called, but I remember
that's
it being
interesting.
written with that. And now I can't find anything about it ever being written with that. And so I don't know if that's a Mandela effect
Do you
what.
think maybe it was like they just changed it and they just changed it everywhere? Or
I mean,
something?
potentially,
Yeah. Because I feel like I've never seen like 3 written like that.
I have not
If
either.
they are
which is,
like using like Roman numerals.
yeah, which is why I thought it was kind of interesting when it first
Yeah,
was
it's like
announced.
this is like a little bit different.
It had a really short turnaround. The Altar was her last album, which was in the fall of 2016. Then she released 1 song in 2017 and then was dark for 2 years. Came back at the end of April
Right.
of 2019, released this album, or released the lead single, which was Gimme,
Right.
and 2 more singles before the album came out in July. So it was a really short turnaround.
Yeah.
With only 3 singles, and of those 3 singles, one of them I don't even consider Contaminated, came out 2 days before the album dropped. So I don't know if I would even consider that. It's
Yeah.
more of a promotional single at that
that
point.
doesn't really feel like a single, I will say.
But Gimme was the lead, and then second single was Look What You're Doing to Me with Francis and the Lights. And
I didn't even realize that they were featured on there. Are they featured?
yeah, you didn't.
I didn't even notice.
Oh my God. Okay. This is interesting because he sings on it.
Well, like I noticed like the singing,
Yeah.
but I guess for me, I just like didn't ever even think about, oh, someone's featured on this.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
Like I
Yeah.
just like totally glossed over that. I don't know why.
That's fair. I think maybe, I don't know. This was also her last album under her contract with Harvest Records, which was, I don't know if it still is. At the time, it was a division of Capitol,
Right.
which, you know, the iconic Capitol building in Hollywood.
That I've always mixed up with like this hotel building that you see when you're passing the Getty because they look almost identical.
I think I know the one you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
I always mix those 2 up.
Off of 405. Yeah. Yes, but this was her last release with the label, and this is my own personal thing. We'll probably talk about this at some point.
Yeah.
But I have a theory that when you leave your label, or when you get dropped by your label, your
get
next
worse.
release is not going to be as good.
Damn.
And maybe that's just because I feel like this album is really good that
And then the next one is
one
not.
didn't really hit for me because I had such high expectations. But that's always been
That's-
a theory of mine.
That's an interesting theory. And I can see how, like, you know, you move to a different label. I can see how, like, the fact that a lot of stuff would probably change could affect your album. You know, like maybe you're not working with the same producers anymore, the same
Yeah.
songwriters, stuff like that, you know?
And something that I thought was really interesting is I believe his name is Tim Anderson. It is. I'll get to the credits on when we do each song.
Right.
But he was like on his Wikipedia page, he was listed as the in-house producer for Harvest Records, which I've never heard of that being a thing. But like she, as far as I know, has not worked with him since. And I think that he
Right.
probably contributed pretty well
that,
to her
that would
career.
make sense.
One other thing I want to mention before we get into it, she's from LA. It
Damn.
says she was born in Orange County, although I've never heard that before. I just saw that today for the first time.
I
She
mean,
was-
I feel like even then that counts as greater LA.
yeah, she was raised in Tarzana, though.
Nice.
So, Valley.
Nice.
So that means you have
Support
to like
the
her.
valley.
I also wrote down in my little intro that I feel like this album is really ahead of its time. Going back to this is the first time I've listened to it in full in probably like 2 years.
Yeah. I'm trying to like cast my brain back to 2019.
This is like pre a lot of like hyperpop and stuff, which we'll get into because I feel like a lot of these sounds are kind of foreshadowing that
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah.
Shall we get into it?
Let's do it. Why not?
All right, album opener, Till Now. Written by Banks, BJ Burton, Se7en, and Tala, produced by BJ Burton and Se7en. What did you think?
I love this song.
Okay,
I gave it a 4.5.
same,
Yeah.
4.5. This is the perfect opener of the album.
Such a strong opener. And I feel like it sets the tone for at least like the next 5 songs on this album. The distortion and like the background distortion and stuff.
I wrote down all the things that can be done with the voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's so layered, and it's just like some of the most interesting sounds I've never thought of.
Yeah. And I feel like it feels dark without like the music itself being particularly dark, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, like tonally something about it.
I wrote haunting and dark.
Yeah. This is the, like, when I put the album on and I heard this song, I was like, okay, we like chose the perfect album for Se7en.
Okay,
Sorry,
good.
Se7en.
Se7en,
Yeah.
right? Like the whole track builds throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
And it feels like it also builds up to the album.
Yeah.
Like it
feels like the lead into the album
right.
almost.
Like we were talking about the track listing last week with Troye Sivan's album and like what should be the opener. This is no question the opener of the album.
It has to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, and I even said, like, Forgive Me, I even like wrote down like, this feels like a continuation of Till Now, but kind of like this is the climax of Till Now, you know?
Yes.
Like it's led up to that.
And Gimme's the lead single, which is also kind of like your first introduction into the album. So I think that like that run specifically is just so well done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also gave this one a 4.5.
I gave Give Me a 4. I think I just really love Till Now. I also like really like Give Me, obviously. I think just something like about Till Now. Like I was listening to that again and again and again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Give Me is also just a really, really good song. And I can see why this was the single, like the lead single.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like this is also the correct choice for the lead single.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was written by Banks and Buddy Ross and produced by BJ Burton, Hudson Mohawk, and Keto. It has this signature Hudson Mohawk production, which you've never listened to Yeezus by Kanye, but
no. I might have like just heard it. Just like, you know how you just hear music sometimes on the radio or something.
Yeah.
But I don't remember.
He was one of the producers on that album. He also does his own like EDM work, but he has a very specific thing that I've always noticed, which is this big like stab of like, it almost functions like an orchestra stab, but it's like synth and like synth brass kind of.
Was it that like sound at one point? You kind of have like this, well, I guess that was more of like.
It's like an impact.
Yeah. That made me jump actually, ironically. When like I first listened to the song, because I wasn't expecting it.
Now that's making me think, is it right before the final chorus where it's like the, oh.
No, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, did I mix it up?
No, it's right on the downbeat. But when you listen again, it also comes up in another song that he produced. But I also want to say Buddy Ross wrote this. That's our connection for the week. He produced and wrote Animal by Troye Sivan.
Oh, shit,
He's
really?
done a few songs on this album.
Which was Troy's first album. No, wait. That's a song from... Okay.
That's the...
I'm getting it mixed up, yeah.
That's the last song of the album.
I love the chorus, but interestingly enough, I feel like the verse and the chorus were like almost felt like one. Like the verses and the chorus to me. I don't know. And I'm like, I don't remember. Like I need to go back and listen to it specifically. But I don't know. I feel like they were almost connected. But I really love the chorus in this song.
I do too, and I really love the intro too. The it's like gibberish almost. It's very fun.
And the bridge was very interesting, I will say.
Yes, the bridge is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was like...
and I also wrote down the drums are like disorienting. They're dragging.
Yeah.
Which I really like because it feels like the synths and her voice are like dragging the drums along to like catch up to everything else, which is very cool.
I didn't even notice that. I need to go back and listen to it for that.
But yeah, I gave it a 4.5. Next song is Contaminated, written by Banks, Kevin Garrett, and Trey Campbell, and produced by BJ Burton. And I would like to say that BJ Burton and Trey Campbell are both named Brandon, and neither of them use Brandon as their like professional working
so
names.
Now the question remains, will you use Brandon for your professional? Really?
No.
Yeah, okay, continuing the trend.
You already know my artist name.
I forgot it.
It's my Instagram handle as well.
Okay, yeah.
But
I do know. Okay.
So there will be music coming out at some point once like after the podcast.
And
but
we
like,
will definitely announce it.
You'll announce it. I don't want to
it.
do self-promotion.
Yeah. I'll announce it on my Instagram.
Yeah.
There we go. To my like 10 followers.
What did you rate this song?
This was a 4.5 for me.
Same.
Yeah. I love this song.
I do as well. This is just so cool and so fun. The production on it is great. You have the like piano plus the like super low like aggressive bass that just appears sometimes.
And I like you have like kind of continuation of like the distortion in the back, the vocals, but it's not like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like to a smaller level, I guess.
Yeah,
compared to
it's
the
much more
previous-
buried in the mix.
This feels kind of like, I feel like in a way like the ballad of the first section of
Yes.
the
I 100% agree.
the ballad of the style of this section. And I gotta say, I love the chorus.
Yes,
It's so
chorus is
beautiful.
very good. There's
Yeah.
also a stripped down version of this. It's like a one take kind of thing.
I want to hear that.
Oh my god, she's an incredible vocalist.
Yeah.
And I feel like she does not get the respect and love that she deserves because she's like there's nobody else that can sing like her. Like I was thinking about her and I was also thinking about Caroline Polachek, who I don't think you know.
No.
She's another one of those people that just her voice is just insane and it's just like how are you even real?
Yeah.
Like Contaminated, I wrote down love is like nuclear waste. And I said it continues the haunting feeling of the album.
Yeah.
We'll talk about once we get to my song that I feel like is the separation in between the first part and this, or the first I and the second I of the album. Once again, the different uses for the voice all over this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a great ballad.
Yeah. I think this is probably my favorite album, or my favorite song from the album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think it's this one.
We'll get to mine.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear which one it is.
And this was the promotional single. This came out 2 days before the album dropped.
Which I feel like, why would you release it 2 days before?
That's a pretty common thing, really.
Really?
That's been like a promotional single kind of thing because you want to get it out before the album does so you can push it to radio.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I remember when it came out and just sitting there and like, whoa, like this album's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
And like I said, for the last album and the previous album, this was my first one as a fan, as an active fan of paying attention to who this person is and the music they're releasing.
Which I feel like this is such a great start to like
Yeah.
the album for someone that's just getting into Banks.
Yeah, I listened to The Altar like probably a few weeks after it came out, but I didn't know who she was. That was my introduction into her because I'd heard one or two of her songs in playlists.
Was that her previous album to this one?
Yeah, that was the 2016 one. 2016 was kind of the year that I like transitioned over from EDM full time into like listening to quote unquote real music.
Yeah.
Although I do think EDM is very good and we will be definitely listening to some.
100%. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
I've barely listened to any EDM.
It's
so.
fun. I'm a big production side of music type of person. Like I like songwriting a lot, but like
And that's like a big part of EDM, isn't
that's
it?
like all of it. Yeah. I was listening to like EDM without words in it. Like that's the level of dedication I had to like the production.
You're like me with soundtracks.
Exactly. Yeah. So the next song we have on here is Stroke. This is written by Aaron Forbes, Banks, Tim Anderson, and Trey Campbell, and it's produced by BJ Burton.
Yeah.
And I would like to give a shout out to BJ Burton. I don't know for sure if he's from Minneapolis, but I know that's where he's based.
Right.
Big fan of Midwestern people. Big fan
Represent
of
Midwest.
working people named Brandon because that doesn't happen very often. They're usually very weird and like just not fun to be around.
Ironically, it feels now that like I know about him, I feel like just all the Brandons in the world are in the Midwest.
Yes, and the only Brandons I've met out here have been Hispanic. I've never never met a white Brandon out here.
Wow.
I had a friend whose boyfriend was named Brandon. He's the only other white Brandon I've like known personally.
Damn. That's ironic because the only other Brandon I've heard of was another white guy who was like this asshole. Like
that's how they usually are. Yeah.
He was like the guy that took care of this apartment building, and he was an asshole. And he was white.
That's why I feel the need to like shout out when there's like normal Brandons working, and we have two of them on this album, which is crazy.
That was where my girlfriend was living, and she told me like, yeah, there are no good people with the name Brandon.
Exactly.
And I was like, I know one good one. Another white guy.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to my defense. So Stroke, the production is so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And this is kind of building on the toxic love that was Contaminated until now, which is kind of like, I feel like this is the past part of the album where it's like, this is what I've been through.
Yeah.
What did you think about this one?
I also really like this one. I gotta say, like the first 5 songs, I feel like the consistency is so strong. I gave this one a 4.
3.5 for me.
Really? So I was like a step down for you. Yeah.
I still really like this song,
I mean, obviously.
you know?
I don't mean like you didn't like it.
No.
But that's interesting. The opening like distorted vocals that get less and less distorted. I just find that to be so interesting. Like that use of that.
There's so much like playing with the voice on this album.
And same thing with like when it goes like stroke, like when you hear like that hard,
it's aggressive.
The aggressive way of saying it. It's just really interesting. Like the use is so interesting.
I'm glad you enjoyed this album. Well, what we've talked about so far, you've enjoyed.
I will say like there's like a little switch up that's coming up soon.
Okay. Do you think it's the next song or do you think it's the song after it?
Song after.
Sawzall, you think is the switch up?
Yeah.
That's what I wrote down as when I think the second part of the album starts. So that's good.
Yeah.
But before that, we have to get to Godless, written by Banks, Jesse Ward, a name that I'm going to butcher. Louis Taotaiolafua, I think. Could not find any information about this person. Sean Walker and Trey Campbell, and then produced by BJ Burton, Jesse Ward, and Seon. What'd you think about this one?
I also really like this one. I gave it a 4.2.
3.5 for me.
Damn. Well, I think it just speaks to the consistency of like the first, section of this album.
The first eye.
The first eye, pretty much, yeah. I feel like this song it feels like just as dark.
Yeah.
But it feels more uplifting somehow. At least to me, it felt like
yes.
It was like this interesting mix.
It's got more of a like it's not as like depressing, I guess. Yeah.
Which I guess like you could say kind of adds to the feeling that it's like leading up to the next section.
Yeah, it's kind of the turning point.
Yeah. I wrote down beautiful chorus. I feel like the choruses in this in these songs are really beautiful. Like I really connected with them.
I wrote down a lyric from this one. You don't believe in love, but can't you say that you've been thinking of us? Yeah, she's got a lot of great lines and a lot of the way that I connect to this, which is unusual for a lot of the ways I connect to music, is how she sings this.
Yeah.
Like the way she's able to communicate emotion through her voice.
Well, yeah, I think it's like the fact that she does use her voice in different ways, which I feel like is not something you typically hear, from an artist. I think that does like add that to the album, because I'm trying to think about it and like I can't think of another artist that does this, maybe
there's a few that we'll probably get to.
I feel like Billie Eilish has done it like once or twice.
Yeah.
But that's the only like other person that's coming to my head right now, like off the top of my head.
I don't know how involved she is with like the production of everything, but it feels very much like she has kind of a vision of like, this is the sound that we're going to do. And that's probably owed to the fact that she's with BJ Burton for a lot of these songs, who I think is, dare I say, one of the top 5 greatest producers working today. This is one thing that will always make me sad, is he was the producer of the 1975's most recent album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language. He got like kicked off of it in favor of Jack Antonoff, and a few of the demos leaked that like he produced.
They were better.
Oh my God. They were like maybe the best music of their career. And it's kind of like, he's also works with Bon Iver.
Yeah. Who I know we're going to be listening to soon.
Yes. A fellow Midwesterner.
Yeah. That's such a shame though.
Yeah. So basically like, get him in the studio.
Yeah.
Next song we have is Sawzall.
Yeah.
This is written by Banks and Buddy Ross, produced by Buddy Ross. Only 2 people on this one. I wrote down, is this the start of part 2? We both say yes.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I don't know how like controversial this is. I loved the first section. I didn't notice that there were like another 2 sections. To me, it kind of felt like there was the first section, and then after this, like starting with the song, it was the second section for the rest of the album. I love the first section. The second section, I'm like, I didn't really connect.
I figured you would say that.
Yeah, I just didn't connect with it very much.
What did you rate this one?
I still like some of the songs. I was still like, I do like this. So like how do you say it? Sawzall? Sawzall. I gave it a 3.5 because I'm still like, this is like a good song. I, enjoy listening to it. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I'm not going to like keep coming back and listening to this one. That's
fair. To me, that would be like a 3. Yeah. If I was saying what you were saying, and that's up to you to decide as you listen to more music. This one personally is a 4. I said it's a weird mix of hyper pop and art pop and R&B.
Yeah. And it's like interesting use of audio again with like the child's voices.
Yeah. The structure of it is very strange. It just kind of like happens. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it is like more normal than I'm thinking of, but like every time I listen to it, I feel like it's just kind of like it's just there, and I don't
Yeah.
really know what's happening.
Yeah.
I really like this song, and I wrote down also, which is something we'll come back to. I love the piano. I'm a pianist.
I didn't even notice the piano.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
I need to like go back and listen.
That's a Buddy Ross thing I've noticed as well, because the songs that have like the really nice piano in it, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah,
that's him.
That's him.
And yeah, I feel like piano is just such an underutilized instrument, especially in pop music.
It is, yeah.
And that's my instrument. That's
Yeah.
so whenever I hear like a good piano, I'm like, wow, this is so cool.
I always forget that like piano is your instrument.
Yeah, 14 years of piano.
Damn.
After Sawzall comes Look What You're Doing to Me. This was the second single of the album.
Yeah.
Featuring Francis and the Lights, written by Banks, BJ Burton, Francis and the Lights, who is one person, and he legally changed his name to Francis Farewell Starlight.
Damn.
Which his album is called Farewell Starlight as well.
So he
I
kind of
don't
just changed it to like
Yeah,
the name of his album.
I guess so. And then also Trey Campbell wrote it. And it's produced by BJ Burton and Francis and the Lights. What did you think about this one?
I gave this one a 3.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
It's I'm like, it's a fine song. I don't know.
Did you not notice that he was singing on this song?
I don't think I did. I don't think I noticed.
Okay.
In some ways I like the laid back style of, the section of the album. It just feels more laid back, but for me, I feel like it just takes away from like the tone that had been set up before.
Yeah.
You know?
This song feels the most out of place to me.
Yeah.
It's not like super out of place, and it's still got a lot of the same people involved in it. There's just something about this that I never really connected with.
Yeah. I was also like, I wasn't particularly in love with the chorus. I was just kind of like, it's fine. You know, like it didn't grab me or anything.
I wrote, this is definitely the second part of the album. To me, this is like the big part of the second part of the album. And it was also a single. So, it kind of like makes sense.
Yeah.
Moving on to Hawaiian Mazes. This was written by Banks, Buddy Ross, Paul Epworth, and Trey Campbell. Produced by BJ Burton, Buddy Ross, and Paul Epworth. This is the first song with a direct like trap influence to it.
Right.
And I wrote down it's kind of trippy, and it has a repeated word chorus, which I absolutely love, and I'm always scared to do.
Yeah, I feel like you never hear that really that much.
Yeah, it's like you got to search kind of deep for like some people to be daring enough to do that, and I really enjoyed that.
I will say I gave it a 3.5.
Me too.
Yeah, I found when I was listening to it, I started to like wonder, like I wonder what the significance of like the phrase Hawaiian Mazes is.
Yeah,
And, like it's just like a very interesting like a chorus, I think. Like
yeah, I don't know what it is. I also wrote down the piano makes another appearance, so mark that down in the piano category. Very big fan of the piano. I think this is kind of fun. It's more of like an R&B vibe, which is what a lot of people like try to put her in as her like box. Also, I
feel like it's kind of just hard to like put her in anything.
I think it's pop music.
Yeah.
I did see on Wikipedia that it's listed as goth pop, which I've never noticed before or understood.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun.
It doesn't feel that goth to me.
Not really. It's just dark. So
Yeah, it's
maybe
just dark.
that's like that's what it means to be goth.
Feels
Sure.
like the parents that are like, oh, like anything that's dark, they're like, oh, it's goth.
Yeah, your kid
It's
comes
goth.
home wearing all black clothing and eye makeup,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my god, you're goth. It's
That's
like, well,
it. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know, but I think that's kind of an interesting descriptor. I think Rate Your Music says contemporary R&B and alt pop, which makes a little bit more sense to me.
I feel like that fits more.
The next song is Alaska. This was written by Banks and Buddy Ross, produced by Buddy Ross.
Right.
So the same credits as Sawzall. What did you think about this? Because I have my prediction of what you're going to say.
Yeah. What is your prediction? I want to hear.
My prediction of what you're going to say?
Yeah.
I think you're going to say, I didn't really connect with this one.
Exactly. I give it a 3.
Yeah. This is a 4.5 for me. This is one of my favorites of the album. Yep.
Okay. I'm really interested to hear what you...
There's this is to me just like Plum on Troye Sivan's album. There's nothing I can really say about it other than it just hit.
Yeah.
And I just get it.
That's interesting because it just did not hit for me.
Yeah.
This isn't like the song that I dislike the most. Like I still like it, enjoyable.
Okay.
But it just like didn't hit for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote down there's more piano. And,
That's why you love it. That's why you love
yes. And weirdly dark production for not being as dark of a song,
Yeah.
which I really like the contrast between like, it's not like dark lyrics. It's not light lyrics either. It's just kind of like,
it. Yeah. It's
in between.
It's an interesting, like, I don't know. I like even wrote here, like, it's a totally different tone.
Yeah.
From everything else, I feel like.
And then this also brings up, since this is track 9, I wrote down track 9 syndrome. I don't know if that's what I want to call it. I will develop this further.
Wait, was Plum track 9 too?
On one of the editions?
Yeah.
No, I think Lucky Strike was on.
That was the regular edition.
I think the regular edition Lucky
was
Strike.
9, right?
But I still really do love Lucky Strike.
Yeah.
And to me, track 9 is a very symbolic and important place in the album. It's especially with longer albums, like 10 songs isn't a ton. Once you get like 12 and above, track 9 is usually one of my favorites.
Really?
There's something about it, and I've always noticed that because my sister and I used to do this thing where like when artists would announce the projects and like the track list of them, we'd claim a song of like what's going to be our favorite. And I realized that if I just chose track 9, it almost always would be my favorite of the album.
That's really, really interesting.
So, yeah. So once again, this is like proving it correctly.
Yeah. I feel like I need to like start paying attention to which track.
Don't, because it'll make you.
Yeah,
but like
I won't.
after you listen to the album, then go back and think, is this my least favorite song on the album? Because for you, it probably will be.
It might be, to be honest. That's how it's trending. Every single episode, we're just going to disagree on one song.
Which is fine.
Yeah. That's just life. That's just normal.
There's just something about this that I really enjoy. You did say, I'm not going to press you because we only have 4 songs left.
Yeah.
You did say there's a song that you didn't like.
Well, not that I didn't like it, just like out of all the songs, my least favorite.
Okay.
I don't mean like I disliked it in the sense of like, oh, I hate this song. I just mean like out of all the songs, it just,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So the next song we have is Propaganda. Written by Aaron Forbes, Banks, and Tim Anderson, produced by BJ Burton and Buddy Ross. This is more of a traditional pop song of the time, I wrote down.
Yeah.
And this, to me, feels like a sibling or cousin of Look What You're Doing to Me. It feels like the more developed version of it in a way. And I think this could have been a single. If they extended if there was going to be a single of the third part of the album, which I don't know if this is even the third part. We'll discuss that. But I feel like this could have been the song where it's like, extended out another month.
I will say I preferred this like over the past several songs.
Okay. Yeah.
And I even wrote like, it kind of feels like a mix of the two halves of the album in a weird way. So, which does kind of like bring to mind, like, maybe this is the beginning of the third part of the album. Like I could see that.
Yeah. I wrote that the next song I feel like is the beginning of the third part.
This one's kind of like leading into it.
Yeah, but I could see an argument that this is the third part as well, because I feel like the third part is definitely not as well defined. It's for sure the last 2 songs are the third part though. Yeah. What did you rate this one?
I gave this one a 3.5.
Me too.
Yeah. I thought it was, for me, stronger than Alaska. And I specifically liked the chorus and the bridge. Those are like my favorite parts of the song. I did note that it does feel like a little bit more like traditional pop than a lot of the other songs on this album, which I thought was just interesting.
It feels like what Look What You're Doing to Me is kind of like trying to be in a way.
Yeah. I feel like could in a sense be like the more successful version of like what you're doing to me. Yeah.
The next song, which is I feel like is definitely part of the third part. If it's not the start, it is 100% part of it. This is written by Aaron Forbes, Banks, Miguel, who is a singer that I'm sure you don't know, but is like, he goes by Miguel.
I haven't heard of,
Simon, whose real name is Simon Christensen. You can't understand the spelling of it when I say P-S-Y-M-U-N, Simon.
What?
That's his like artist name.
And I was so confused.
Yeah, and Tim Anderson. I believe Simon is a Minnesota person as well. Like I think he's in the Twin Cities scene.
This whole album, aside from Banks herself, is just all Midwest.
Yeah, and there's only a few people, but like it kind of works.
Which is cool.
And then this one is produced by Aaron Forbes, BJ Burton, Hudson Mohawk, his second one, and Simon. I said more Hudson Mohawk production. I do want to say, if you don't know who Hudson Mohawk is, I believe
don't.
you do know the song Club Classics by Charlie XCX.
Oh, of course, yeah.
She says,
So
I want to dance with Hudmo.
Oh,
That's him.
I missed that. Yeah.
It's fine because she just shouts at a bunch of random
obviously.
people where it's like, I don't know who these people are unless you know like her friend group.
I think it's partially that, and then also just partially the fact that I like a lot of lyrics just go over my head because I'm just listening to the music, not the lyrics.
Yes. He also has the same kind of like the big hit in this where it's like the downbeat, it's like the boom.
Yeah.
And I wrote down insane drums and percussion. Absolutely love the drums on this song.
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
This was my least favorite song on this album.
That's fair. I gave it a 4.
Yeah, I gave it a 2.5.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah.
that's our lowest rating ever.
That was like this is a song that like I would skip.
Okay,
If
interesting.
I was listening to the album, if it came on like the radio, I wouldn't change the station or anything. Like I would still listen to it, but I'm just like, to me, it feels all over the place, kind of.
Interesting. I think that's kind of why I like it.
Yeah, we just like different things.
Yeah.
What can I say? But yeah, I don't know. I did feel that weirdly, even though I didn't really like this song, it did kind of feel closer to the first half.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Which is like, I was kind of like, I love the first half. So
This
like,
feels
why?
kind of like the related to Gimme in a way, which is the other Hudmo produced song.
Which is interesting because like, now that you say this is probably part of the third,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I can see that. Even though it like this and Propaganda kind of feel kind of connected to the first half.
Yeah, definitely. I also want to say something controversial since you just gave it a 2.5. I think the bridge of this song is one of my favorite parts of her discography.
Really?
Absolutely love it. She almost takes on like a percussive role with her voice.
Yeah, I need to go back and listen to the bridge. Then I'm interested to like go over and listen to it again.
That's just always been one part that's super catchy to me. Now we have 2 more songs, which these 2 songs to me are very interconnected.
Yeah,
They're the 2 like actual ballads. Like, I mean, Contaminated is also a ballad, but they feel more like ballads or more stripped back.
I even wrote down like, I said like, if we were made of water, I was like, this feels like the power ballad of the whole album.
Yes.
And I feel like they are very connected. Yeah.
Written by Aaron Forbes, Banks, and Trey Campbell, produced by BJ Burton and Buddy Ross. What did you think of this?
I thought it was like a step up. I thought it was a 3.5.
I have it written down as a 4 right now. I'm tempted to change it to a 4.5 because I really do love this song.
I think it's a really interesting song. I love the instrumentation in the song. I think that is really beautiful. And it does feel like much more experimental than I would have like thought for like a power ballad.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I think is very, very interesting about the song.
I always forget about that too, because there's the part where it's kind of like 2/3 of the way through where there's just like grit happening almost. Where it's just like,
it's really interesting.
yeah, it's super strange. And that's one of the like sonic connections and like precursors to like modern hyperpop.
Yeah.
This was kind of revolutionary.
When did like modern hyperpop like come to be? What year would you say is like,
Depends on what you would define. To me, 2020 is really when it's like started taking off.
when the world went crazy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think How I'm Feeling Now by Charlie XCX was kind of like the work of that era of like that style of hyperpop. And interestingly enough, a lot of songs on there were produced by BJ Burton, who also contributed to this. So I wonder if his style just
His
kind of
influence.
like, just seeped through.
That is interesting.
I wrote that I feel like this song is the best connection to Se7en. It's very rainy and gloomy and dark and moody, and it's kind of hopeful, but it's still sad.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the tone of some parts of Se7en.
Which connect, I think it like thematically connects a lot with Se7en.
Yeah.
I can't say that without laughing.
So this may be a 4.5 for me. You said 3.5?
Really? Yeah, this is a 3.5. This is one where like if I was listening to the album, I would like not skip this,
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like go back and listen to it on repeat pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we have the final song of the album. Something that is interesting. Well, let me tell you the credits first. So it's written by H.L. I think that's how you say his name. Banks and Buddy Ross, and produced by Buddy Ross. Now I'll get into my spiel. Something that's interesting is this is not a common thing to love, like for me to love the last song of the album. I usually feel like the last song of the album is kind of a snooze fest because
unless the last one is the 9th one.
Yes, in that case, I don't think you should call it an album. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah. That's pretty short.
This is a 5 for me.
Really? So this is your favorite song?
This is my favorite song from the
Wow.
album. This, I think I said last week that this album had a song that I would put in my top 100 songs of all time. This is that song.
Yeah. Damn.
I absolutely love it. What do you think about it?
I think I give it a 3.5.
Okay.
I think
That's good. That's better than I thought.
yeah, I did like it. I think with this song for me, like some parts I really like, some parts I was like, like it kind of felt like a mix song where like some parts I'm like, I really, really like the song. It just some other sections of it I just didn't connect with. I still like it, you know? And I do feel like it feels kind of like the simplest, quietest section
Yes.
of the album, you know?
It's definitely a last song.
Yeah. And yeah, if I feel like it works well as a last song in this album.
It has the return of the Buddy Ross piano.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you give it a 5, huh?
Yeah, not the only reason.
Yeah.
The strings mixed with the piano are so good. I love strings.
Yeah.
Love a good like actual orchestra.
Not used enough, I feel like, too.
No, they're hard to do.
That's true. They're hard to like weave in naturally.
Yeah, it's expensive to do like a good like plug-in of like strings, but then to
Yeah.
hire an actual orchestra to play strings well is
Yeah.
just people don't have that kind of money.
It's
And
expensive.
it's sad because they're so beautiful. I wrote on here that her voice is inhuman. The production is so good,
Yeah.
and it's like stripped back in a way. It's not doing too much, but it's doing just enough
Yeah.
that it's like complimenting her. It feels almost like a jazz club to me.
Yeah, like a very much more relaxed, like you know,
Yes.
yeah.
And this is one where her voice is the star of the show.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible, some of the things that she can do.
Yeah. I'm like intrigued to hear more of your music, to like see like the different ways that she uses her music in her different albums too. You know, like from
Yeah.
album to album.
I was reading a little bit about it, and this one looks like it's the most critically acclaimed of her albums.
Really?
Which is like you were saying, it's a good like introduction
Yeah.
of like, wow,
It
she's
is.
like super talented. And I do want to say one other thing, one last thing about this song. I have argued with so many people about this song. I've shown it to a few people.
Yeah.
No one has ever liked it.
Really?
When I've played it. This is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Wow,
And
that's
I have
interesting.
never met someone who actually enjoyed this song. Most people dislike it.
Yeah.
Like actively dislike it.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I liked it like a lot better than like The Fall or something like that. Maybe
Yeah,
we're just messed up the same way.
There's just something about this.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that like made me feel better is I read the comments on Genius.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is one of the most beautiful things ever.
There
So
we go.
that makes
Yeah.
me feel better because I agree. I do think this is one of the most beautiful things
Yeah.
ever. And I think it's like a genuinely just like, it's a perfect song. And that's a 5.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
out of these 3 albums, each one has had a song that I've rated a 5.
Yeah. That's
I've
interesting.
rated probably about 50 songs total out of the like 2,000 that I've done on Rate Your Music a 5. So we're kind of like front loading
Yeah.
the podcast
All
with
the
like some of
fives
my
now.
my favorite music.
I was split because even now I'm kind of split, and I kind of want to give like either Contaminated or Till Now a 5. I haven't done it yet. I'm not gonna do it like during the episode, but honestly, like because I do want to go back and like listen to like the first part of the album again, which is my favorite part. But I feel like at some point, like one of those, I'm gonna just change to a 5.
Okay. Yeah.
They're just so good. Like
They're very
I
good.
can't- Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see.
What did you rate this album?
So, because I didn't connect with like the second half, I loved the first half. The second half, I was like, it's fine. That was like my reaction to it. So I did give the album a 3.5.
Okay.
With the caveat that like I would listen to like I was listening to the first section of this album, the first 5 songs on repeat for like 2 weeks. I absolutely loved like the first part of this album. If it was just this, I would give it. If it was like the first 5 songs, I would give it a 4.5 right away. That's yeah, but you know it isn't. So
Yeah.
it's like a 3.5.
That's fair.
What did you give it?
I gave it a 4.
Yeah.
I feel pretty comfortable with that. I did. I don't know if I mentioned that I was going to make Bloom a 4 as well.
Yeah, I
so those
remember
two
that.
albums have the same rating. Another thing I do want to mention as well, even though I didn't like connect with Look What You're Doing to Me that much,
Yeah.
I do think that 13 songs is the perfect length for an album.
Yeah.
I like 10 is too little. I feel like
Yeah.
15 is too many. 13 is perfect. 12 is usually good too, but you just have that extra one that
Yeah.
like might
feels
hit
like
for
the
you.
extra little. Yeah.
So that's another thing that I'd like to have known. So I do think 13 is a great number.
There we go.
So in keeping with our theme of numbers, 13, hell yeah.
The 13 then.
Yeah.
There we
It'll
go.
fit in there somehow.
Exactly.
Because like the I of 13 is a 1, and then one of the E's is a 3.
That's true.
The one third, I don't know.
I have no idea. I also gotta say, I gotta do it. I am gonna give Contaminated a 5.
Contaminated. All right, that's the one.
I feel like it's too good. You know, like for it to be a 4.5. I went back and forth over this. Like when I was rating this album, I was like, should I not? You know, but yeah, I'm giving it a 5. It's just that good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that our first 5?
That's my first.
That's
5.
your first 5 of the podcast.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I like had thought about like some 5s for Bloom and for the Night Game, but I think like there it was just, you know, I really liked the songs, but it wasn't like, you know, it just wasn't enough to get it there. But this got me there.
Nice. Okay. Sick. That's very fun. It's interesting that out of all of the albums, this was so far your least favorite, but it had your favorite song on it.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess it's time for Se7en.
It's time for Se7en.
Real name, obviously, 7. Not actually Se7en.
Well,
yeah.
Depends.
It depends.
They want you to say it as 7.
Yeah, they want you to say it as 7. It is just like, you know, a stylization of the title. Directed by David Fincher and written by Andrew Kevin Walker. It actually all started with, I mean, obviously start with Andrew Kevin Walker, he's the screenwriter, but he actually based it. He moved to New York in the 80s when there was like all the drugs and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like the whole basis for the script. And then it eventually came to David Fincher. And actually this like saved his whole career. I guess for those of you who don't know, David Fincher started off directing music videos mostly. He did, he did Madonna's Vogue. He did, Michael Jackson. So he like got big on that. And then he went and directed Alien 3. Which was like a terrible production.
I have heard this, yes.
And like studio interference. And he was literally like, that's it, I'm not directing movies again. Until he like got this script and directed it. And yeah, this saved his career. When it came out, it was kind of divisive, but now it's seen as a classic, obviously. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up was obviously this film does have Kevin Spacey appearing in it.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, obviously we don't support his, what he has done. That being said, he plays a very good, crazy killer.
He does. Also, I just want to say real quick, since we have this platform, I think the Kevin Spacey one was one of the weirdest ones, like one of the weirdest Me Too ones, because he was like, guys, I did all this bad stuff, but it's okay. I'm gay.
I'm gay.
And it's like, that is not a defense. You did awful things.
That was like honestly the worst way he could have dealt with it.
It was crazy. Yeah.
I remember like that whole thing. I remember reading like one of the people that he molested. Like he was like, I read like, he was pretty much just talking about it. And Jesus Christ, that was a hard read, like reading. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I did not read any of those because I could not bring myself to do it.
I read one, and then after that, I'm like, I'm never reading another one of these because it's just like, it's Jesus Christ,
That was like final season of House of Cards when that came out, I think, or something like that.
They were filming the final season and they cut him out of it. Like they rewrote it, cut him out of it. They were just like, your character died. And then of course, after it got canceled, he released videos on YouTube as that character from that show. It looked like super ominous videos as if like, I'm going to get you.
That.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
He's obviously not okay mentally.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, our connection to the last movie is we have, once again, a like fucking creep.
Another one. Yeah.
In one of the roles.
But I mean, I will say, like, good casting because
yes,
it works.
He was really good.
Yeah, he was really good. To be honest, like after the Me Too movement, now I'm like, I wonder how much of that just wasn't acting.
Yes, that
like,
is, yeah.
Because
the best acting is like being true to yourself.
Exactly.
So maybe he is just like a
your
psychopath.
own experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you notice that his name was not at all in like the opening credit sections?
Yes, because I didn't know that was Kevin Spacey because I'm face blind.
Yeah.
And because I read watched/read the opening credits, and then immediately after the movie, it starts with his name of like also starring or whatever, guest starring.
The reason that they did that, like when he joined the movie, he wasn't really big. During filming, The Usual Suspects came out, which he's in. He plays the main character, and that like blew him up. And he realized that if, you know, they include my name in the opening credits, anyone that's watching the movie is going to be like, okay, there's Brad Pitt, there's Morgan Freeman. But then like a third of the way through, they'll be like, wait a second, Kevin Spacey hasn't showed up yet. He's the killer.
Interesting.
So that's why he went to David Fincher, and David Fincher agreed, like, yeah, we'll keep you out of the opening credits, keep you out of anything like, and all of the promotional stuff to like create like that surprise.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
I really
think
like
that's
that.
really. I agree, that's really cool. I just wish Kevin Spacey hadn't come up with that idea.
Yeah,
But,
right.
I also wanted to, before we get into it, ask you, where do you think this film is set?
I was thinking about this because it's a rainy city. It's Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore. Like, you know, it's one of those. And then they go out into the desert, and it's like, why?
So
I also thought about Chicago because they mentioned like the subway and like the train rattling, everything. This is not a real place.
So they like purposefully don't say the name, but interestingly enough, they filmed this in downtown Los Angeles.
They did?
They did.
That's
And
crazy.
They just added a bunch of rain. And like they did it.
I thought about that as they were filming
They
it.
did it for the effect, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this is just going to make it drearier. But I do kind of question if this is kind of just supposed to be set in LA, even though it does feel much more like a New York, you know, something like that.
It feels definitely more like an East Coast.
Yeah. I think it's just like the desert part that kind of gets you, you know?
Yeah. And I don't know if it really like matters necessarily.
Yeah.
But like it matters to me in a way because I like to know
Yeah,
where
because
things
you're like,
are.
just where is it? You know, especially if it's like, oh, I know that city, I know that place, you know?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Interesting. I did not know it was shot in LA.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured the desert scenes were shot around LA
Yeah,
because
for
like
sure.
obviously.
Yeah. Now I'm interested to hear, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, let me start off by saying I kind of knew what this movie was about.
Yeah.
Like I knew it was the 7 Deadly Sins. I forgot about it by the time I like pressed
Yeah.
play on the movie. I was like, oh yeah, that's what we're doing. I started off this movie and I was like, wow, that guy sounds and looks a lot like Morgan Freeman. I don't know if that's him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, that guy looks a lot like Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I did not know either of them were in this movie. I don't know. I don't know anything.
And then you saw the opening credits.
Anyway, do you want me to just launch right into my...
Launch into it.
This was really good.
Yeah.
It was very enjoyable. I like a good mystery.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with this one, and I can see why it's such a classic.
Yeah.
I don't know where this came in Morgan Freeman's career. He's always been old to me.
Yeah. It kind of feels
he's
like
old
that.
in this.
Yeah. Well, this was like, I think earlier 90s.
95?
I think
pretty sure.
94, 95.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what
So I don't
Morgan
know
Freeman
how
was
old he
in
would have been.
before or after.
Yeah.
But I thought he was incredible
Yeah.
in this.
yeah.
He's a great actor.
He, across the board, no matter what he's in, I feel like, even if like the movie itself is not that good, he is always
He's
amazing.
he's one of the few
Yeah.
where it's like he's just on all the time.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
he's got it.
And I do kind of feel like he just like outshines Brad Pitt throughout
Absolutely.
the whole movie.
Yeah, that's one of my main complaints is that
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, I don't know, this might be my first time seeing Brad Pitt in a movie,
Yeah.
which is crazy, but there's a very good chance it is.
Yeah.
So I asked my mom, I called her and like we talked a little bit about this, and I was like, does Brad Pitt always act like that?
Yeah.
Like he's like overacting a little bit. Like he's a little bit too much, which I don't know. It worked in a lot of places,
I feel like,
but there's a few times where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you're acting.
I feel like generally it does work for the film, even though sometimes it's a little bit too much. I will say, like, I do kind of feel like that is just the way he acts. And I feel like, sorry to all the big Brad Pitt lovers out there, but he's just not the best actor.
He's hot.
He's hot. And he does like a solid job. I'm not
yeah,
saying he's
he's
bad,
good.
but it's just like, he's not the best.
There's
Like,
a few
he's-
times where it's like,
yeah, he's not Morgan Freeman. I'm sorry.
No, he's
Yeah.
not Morgan Freeman.
I mean, I love this movie. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
I checked your Letterboxd afterwards and I saw it had made it into your top 4.
Yeah, although I will say, I'm going to switch it out because I realized that another David Fincher film, Zodiac, which is about the Zodiac killer, it's even better than this film.
Okay.
Yeah, and I realized that after rewatching this because I just hadn't seen this like in like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So after like rewatching this and having watched Zodiac recently, I'm like, Zodiac is just a little bit better, which we will definitely watch too.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it's a really good film.
Is David Fincher one of your favorite directors of all time?
He is.
Okay.
He is in the, I don't know, it's weird because a lot of times before when I would think about who is my favorite director, I never thought of David Fincher. But that being said, like I love so many of his movies. You know, like Se7en, Zodiac, The Social Network, which is a fantastic
That's right, you did
film.
that. Yeah, I do really want to watch
That
that.
film is fantastic. Like I think like just recently I realized like, damn, I really just love David Fincher's films. And I also haven't seen some of his big ones. Like I haven't seen Fight Club.
You haven't seen Fight Club? That's crazy.
I have the
haven't
DVD
either.
at home.
That's a Brad Pitt one too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll have to watch that one at some point.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like I already love his films without seeing some of his most favorite ones or most famous ones. So yeah, I mean I'll go ahead and say this is a 5-star movie for me. I think it's, I think it's perfect.
This is a 4-star for me.
Yeah.
It's very good. I hearted it on Letterboxd.
Yeah. Which means a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I will definitely watch this one again because I feel like there's some stuff I missed as well.
Yeah, I think you definitely notice like some little points. For instance, like, so obviously Brad Pitt is Wrath. At some point there's like a scene where Morgan Freeman is like saying like, oh yeah, he's doing the 7 deadly sins, and he like lists them. And I noticed like this time watching, knowing that Brad Pitt is Wrath, when Morgan Freeman says Wrath, he turns and looks at Brad Pitt.
Oh.
But it isn't like he's like looking at
Yeah.
him specifically, just like, oh, he's just talking and turning to people.
Interesting.
And yeah, so I was just like, oh, that's like a little connection. Huh. Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, I always enjoy seeing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Same thing with like when he's looking through the books, and you remember there are like some images in the books.
Yeah.
One of them is a person with their head cut off, like Tracy. So it's just like little, tidbits like that, which I always think are fun to find in something.
It was really enjoyable. I loved the chase scene.
Yeah.
That was really
Which
well
I
done.
honestly forgot happened.
That was really cool. And, I'm not like a cop person in
Yeah.
general,
Same.
but I enjoyed that. I was also, this is interesting. I was surprised by the amount of black people in this movie. I will
Yeah.
say it's the 90s. I didn't have like, expectations of like seeing non-white
and, like,
people.
The commissioner, or not the commissioner, the district attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like people in the
like, people-
background.
yeah.
Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Go David Fincher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very dark, like both thematically and the way it's shot is like sometimes hard to see if there's like a glare on the TV.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways very graphic too.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if I'm just like desensitized to a lot of that stuff because not much got me. Where I was like, oh, this is really disgusting. Except for the guy in the bed when he like came alive. That like I didn't scream, but I like holy shit.
Well,
I was like
that moment. I think Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman knew that he was going to wake up, but I'm pretty sure that none of the SWAT actors knew.
Oh.
So they were genuinely surprised when he just started like coughing, like writhing around.
Yeah.
That moment gets like everyone. I remember it got me too.
Yeah, that's oh my god, that's terrifying.
This like emaciated body, just like
Yeah, with all the sores.
yeah.
Oh
and, like,
my
his,
god.
teeth and yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also
terrifying.
interested to see what you thought of like John Doe turning himself in.
I thought that was very interesting.
That's like one of my favorite things about this film, that they don't even catch him, which is
Yeah.
like obviously like part of his whole plan.
It is cool.
But like, because I read that the screenwriter did that on purpose to like take away a feeling like of conclusion from the audience,
That makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
which I really like. But I did want to ask you something, and this is something I rewatched it with Jennifer, my girlfriend, and she brought up something interesting where like, so she knew that Brad Pitt was going to be one of the 7 deadly sins at the end because she remembered that, but she wasn't sure which one. And she thought he was going to be Pride throughout the whole movie.
I can see that.
And
yeah.
I'm very interested to see if you think like, I don't know, like if John Doe had planned everything. Because I started to think about it and I was like, how did he like plan Wrath versus like, do you think he had like something set up in the back or something?
I think
like,
he definitely like knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. Like I will say at the end,
Yeah.
when they're like the two of them are driving out and John Doe's in the back, and you have, I think it was a shot of where you can see all three of them, like a
Yeah.
straight on shot. I thought Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are going to be the last two bodies. I did not think Tracy was going to be one of the bodies. But I like in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh, I figured it out. They're both dying. I didn't think, Brad Pitt doesn't die.
Yeah. But he
like,
becomes one of them pretty much. Like,
but
his
I was
life is
thinking
kind of
that
over.
the two of them were going to die.
Yeah. Which I think is like such a great ending. Like
having the delivery guy come out there too. Oh, that was so cool and so terrifying and sad and just disgusting.
And the setting of it, I think it just works so with like all the electrical,
the power lines. Yeah.
But yeah, because like when Jennifer brought that up, I was genuinely like, I wonder which one. Like I think that Wrath fits, but she was like, I think Pride fits him better.
I think in that moment, like he becomes Wrath.
That's why I was thinking of it, and I honestly started thinking, how would John Doe think about it? Because I was like, I feel like Wrath is just easier to elicit. You know, because it's just like, oh yeah, I cut off your wife's head. Obviously, you're gonna be wrathful.
Yeah,
you know,
right. It's an easier one to get a reaction out of.
So I just like, I don't know. I just thought it was a really interesting like look at how he put his plan into motion or whatever.
Yeah,
5 stars, baby.
5 stars for you. Yeah, it's a 4 for me.
Yeah,
it's definitely not on the level of Call Me by Your Name for me personally, but
which I get.
Yeah, but this is really enjoyable, and I was invested the whole time, and I liked. I really do love like kind of a buddy cop pairing. Like it's pretty fun.
I love like the scene where he like tries reading the book in his car, and he's like "fuck Dante," and like I just love stuff like that so much.
I liked them in the apartment too.
Yeah.
Like when the train's going by and they're like working together to like hold everything down, and I was like, this is just like it's a great like friendship almost.
Yeah. Which makes the end, I feel like, even sadder.
Yes. Did not think he was going to do it.
Really?
I didn't think he would.
Wow. I feel like...
The other thing, like, looking at it from, like, a screenwriting perspective of, like, Act 3 was, like... 50 seconds maybe like it was crazy, so I was like there has to be more like because I wasn't like I'm watching the time of like how much is left on the movie, but I was like there's no way. The
way you see him treat the photographer, which turns out being John Doe, I feel like moments like that, after that I mean I guess kind of cheating because I know how it ends, but like after that I'm kind of like there's no way he wouldn't do it, I feel like he's just
unstable enough,
he's like unstable enough to just do it.
I also had to kind of
especially with like the finding out like he was gonna have a kid,
which I was just gonna mention that I was like I had to put myself in that the shoes of like wanting to bring a kid into the world. It's like okay, that's a good thing, like
we're getting so existential with this episode.
Yes. And that's probably what you're supposed to do. I was thinking about like the sins. I feel like you can kind of make a case for all of the sins for each character throughout the movie.
I am also happy that because I feel like some movies when they do something like this, they try to like connect all the sins together into one giant conspiracy,
and it becomes gimmicky.
Yeah, I'm happy this film didn't do it. Like it was literally just like it's just a prostitute. It's just a crooked lawyer. Like it wasn't part of this grand thing, which I feel like works really well.
Yeah, it was very interesting. The set design in John Doe's apartment.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. It also, I was thinking like as we were watching it, or as I was watching it, I was kind of like, who in their right mind is doing this to an apartment? I know. Like you're gonna have to, you're not getting your security deposit. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was really that like set design in particular was probably my favorite.
I think that and like when they go into the sloth victim and you see all like the smelling little trees hanging. Like before you even see the victim, you're like, "What the fuck?"
Did you see the credits? Like, did you watch the credits of this movie?
The end credits.
Yeah.
We saw. I don't know. We watched like some of them, but honestly, at that point, we just
did a
talking.
Special thanks to like the car smelling company or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, because I was like, first of all, I was entranced by the credits because they scroll the wrong way.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out which way you're supposed to read it in. So you read it like bottom up.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, there was a shout out to whatever that company's
Man,
called.
I'm sad I missed that.
And I was like, that's interesting.
Probably like provided all of that for free or something.
I would assume, or helped with like the design of it or something, you know?
Yeah, it's a gorgeous film too. I think it's kind of overlooked,
And
like its
very
own
interesting.
very specific way.
There's not a lot of color in it at all.
It's very like sepia, sepia toned, which I think just adds to like the tone of the film overall.
This was an example of the score being much less like you're not paying attention to it. It's just contributing
just
to the
in
world,
background.
which is really good.
And I mean, I didn't realize that the score was by Howard Shore.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to be talking about him more because he wrote the music for Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So we're definitely going to be talking about him more. And I mean, yeah, I think this is a great score that kind of like disappears. And then vice versa, like Lord of the Rings, it's kind of the opposite where the music does add to the moment, but you're like, damn, this music, like,
Yeah.
So
like a Star Wars John Williams type
exactly.
thing. Yeah.
So it like very different styles, which I think speaks to like his skill as a composer.
Yeah, but I really liked this one. I thought this was very enjoyable.
Hell yeah, I'm happy.
So that does put it above Mulholland Drive and below Call Me By Your Name.
I feel like it's a good place to be.
Yeah, I think that's it. For me, that feels comfortable. Like I'm good with my rankings so far.
I'm excited to see what you think in the next one.
Yeah, I have literally no clue what's going to happen in the next one.
It's going to get crazy. That's all I'm going to say.
Have you listened to any of the music for the next one?
I haven't started it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do one sitting of it. It's short.
Yeah. Okay.
It's worth it.
Okay.
And I can't prepare you in any way for it.
That's how I've like started kind of doing it. Just one sitting,
That's my
and having rate your music empty, like open and my notes open at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a listen and rate person and then do my notes after, like go through it again.
I'm just like, stream of consciousness, whatever pops in my head first.
Yeah. That's how I am with the movies, which is what I don't know. So, it's very much like this is what I remember.
There we go.
I'm excited to watch another David Fincher movie. I think
well, let's do one soon then.
I really liked the direction in this, and I just have to say one more time, Morgan Freeman's incredible.
Love Morgan Freeman.
Somebody get him one more like role before he retires because he's old.
Yeah, he's like 88 or something.
Is he that old?
He's that old.
God.
Yeah. The other day I realized that he's 88 and Michael Caine is 90, and I was like, Jesus Christ,
I don't want to say it.
I know, but yeah, I mean, he is always incredible, no matter what.
Yeah.
And we definitely got to watch more movies with him.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's probably going to go up on as we go further on in the podcast, I kind of want to make a list of like actors I really like. He's 100% going to be like in the top.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah.
And it's just such a, I think, interesting person too.
With a great voice.
Yeah. We got to watch March of the Penguins at some point so you can hear that voice. Shout out to Morgan Freeman.
Shout out to Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that where we leave it for this time?
I think that's where we leave it.
All right. Sounds good. Mm-hmm. Well, next week is going to be very interesting. It's going to be different.
A very unhinged episode, probably, based off what we're going to be watching and listening to. So buckle in.
Yes. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.